Before we start, take a moment to like and subscribe. Imagine being a teenager, one of the best and brightest students in your class. Now imagine being ripped from your home and forced to live in a foreign country, ruled by a powerful, ruthless king. That was Daniel's life. He and his three friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, were among the young Jewish exiles taken to Babylon after their homeland was conquered. Their new ruler, King Nebuchadnezzar, was a visionary, and he handpicked the sharpest young men to be trained for 3 years to serve in his palace. The catch: they were to eat the king's rich, delicious food and drink his finest wine every day. This was a huge honor, a sign of their royal favor. But Daniel, being a man of deep faith, knew this food was not in line with his beliefs. Couldn't eat it. So Daniel, with the help of his friends, came up with a bold plan. He went to the official in charge of them and said, "Please test us for just 10 days. Let us eat nothing but vegetables and drink only water. Then compare our appearance with the young men who have been eating the king's royal food." The official was nervous. "If you look sick and weak, the king will have my head." But Daniel's persuasive and calm demeanor won him over. 10 days later, the results were astonishing. Daniel and his friends looked healthier and better nourished than any of the other young men. They had shown not only incredible courage, but also a deep trust in their God. From that day on, they were allowed to eat their simple, faithful diet. And when their 3 years of training were up, the king found them to be 10 times wiser and more brilliant than all the other wise men in his entire kingdom. King Nebuchadnezzar was a man of power, but his power didn't stop the nightmares. One night, he had a dream so terrifying and disturbing that it shook him to his core. But when he woke up, he couldn't remember what it was. He summoned all the magicians, enchanters, and sorcerers of Babylon. "I've had a dream that troubles me," he announced, "and I need you to tell me what I dreamed and what it means. If you don't, I will have you all cut into pieces and your houses turned into piles of rubble." The wise men panicked. They begged the king, "Tell us the dream, and we will tell you the meaning." But the king was adamant. "I know you're just stalling. You'll only tell me a lie. Either tell me the dream and its meaning, or die." A terrible decree went out. All the wise men of Babylon were to be executed. When Daniel heard the news, he wasn't afraid. He went to the king and asked for more time. Then he gathered his 3 friends, and they prayed to the God of heaven to reveal the mystery. That night, in a vision, God showed Daniel the king's dream and its interpretation. The next morning, Daniel stood before the king, who was astonished to see him still alive. "The mystery you asked about can't be explained by any man," Daniel began, "but there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets." He then described the king's forgotten dream in perfect detail: a massive, terrifying statue with a head of pure gold, a chest and arms of silver, a belly and thighs of bronze and legs of iron, with feet of iron mixed with clay. Then a rock, cut out without human hands, struck the statue's feet and smashed the entire statue into dust. Daniel then revealed the meaning, explaining that the statue represented a succession of powerful world empires, starting with King Nebuchadnezzar's own empire of gold. But in the end, a different divine kingdom would come and crush them all, lasting forever. Nebuchadnezzar was so moved that he fell on his face before Daniel and declared, "Truly, your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings." He then made Daniel ruler of the entire province of Babylon. This is one of the things Daniel is most famous for: his incredible ability to interpret dreams. While Daniel was busy ruling Babylon, his 3 friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, were put in charge of the province's affairs. But their faith was about to be put to the ultimate test. King Nebuchadnezzar, in a display of his own power, built a massive statue of gold, 90 feet high, and commanded everyone to bow down and worship it whenever they heard the sound of music. Anyone who refused would be thrown into a blazing furnace. The music played and everyone fell to their knees, except for Daniel's 3 friends. Some jealous officials, looking for a way to get rid of the Jewish men, went to the king. "O king, live forever." Those 3 Jews you put in charge of the province, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, not serve your gods or worship the gold statue." The king, in a blind rage, had the 3 men brought before him. He gave them one last chance: bow down or burn. Their response was the definition of courage. "O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to save us from it. But even if he does not, we want you to know, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the statue you have set up." Furious, the king ordered the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than usual. He commanded his strongest soldiers to tie up the 3 men and throw them in. As the soldiers did this, the heat of the fire was so intense it killed them instantly. But as Nebuchadnezzar peered into the flames, he was stunned. He saw not 3 men, but 4, walking around unharmed in the fire. And the 4th one looked like a son of the gods. The king, completely humbled, called them out. They emerged without even the smell of smoke on their clothes. He immediately issued a decree that no one should speak a word against their God, and he promoted them to even higher positions. Years later, a new king, Darius, ruled the kingdom. He chose Daniel as one of his top 3 administrators because Daniel was so incredibly competent and trustworthy. His wisdom and integrity shone so brightly that King Darius was considering putting him in charge of the entire kingdom. But this favoritism lit a fire of jealousy in the hearts of the other high-ranking officials. They couldn't stand the thought of an outsider rising above them. They tried to find something, anything, to accuse Daniel of some corruption, some mistake, but they couldn't. Daniel was meticulous in his work, utterly honest and reliable. So they came up with a different, more devious plan. "We'll never find anything to accuse him of, unless it has to do with the law of his God," they cunningly reasoned. They went to the king with a wicked scheme disguised as flattery. "O King Darius, live forever. We, your officials, have all agreed that you should establish a royal decree. For the next 30 days, anyone who prays to any god or man other than you, O king, will be thrown into a den of lions." They painted it as a way to honor the king's supreme authority, to show that he was the ultimate power in the land. King Darius, flattered and completely unaware of their true motive, signed the decree. A terrible, unchangeable law was now sealed. When Daniel heard about the new law, he didn't change his habits. He knew about the danger, but his faith was stronger than his fear. He went home to his room, opened the windows that faced Jerusalem, and knelt down. Just as he had done every day for years, he prayed to his God 3 times a day. He wasn't hiding. He was boldly, openly, and faithfully following his convictions. He was caught immediately, and the officials gleefully went to the king to report Daniel's crime. King Darius, realizing he had been tricked, was devastated. He spent the entire day desperately trying to find a way to save Daniel, but the law was absolute and could not be changed. With a heavy heart, as the sun began to set, he commanded that Daniel be taken to the lion's den. "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you," the king said, his voice filled with a desperate hope. A large stone was rolled in front of the den's entrance and sealed with the king's own ring and the rings of his officials. That night, Darius returned to his palace to spend a sleepless, miserable night, fasting and worrying about the fate of his most trusted servant. The next morning, at the first sign of dawn, the king rushed to the den. With a trembling voice, he cried out, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" From the darkness of the pit, Daniel's voice answered, calm and steady, "O king, live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight." The king was overjoyed. He had Daniel pulled out, completely unharmed. Not a single scratch could be found on him. The officials who had plotted against Daniel were then thrown into the den themselves, and the lions immediately overpowered them, proving their wickedness. This is the story Daniel is most famous for, his miraculous survival in the lion's den. King Darius, in awe, issued a new decree that everyone in his kingdom must revere the God of Daniel. Daniel's story is a powerful reminder of how one person's faith and courage can make a huge impact on the world. Even when facing impossible odds,